She's like a sickness in my brain, a vision standing by the window pane. She ripples through the blinds and leaves me in a daze. It's in the way her body moves me, the way she grabs me and intoxicates, until the signals in my mind forget to operate. Fragile skull. I take my pleasure from my alcohol. She'll never give you any time at all. She just comes and goes, you know, and she's got me living in a chemical oven.
Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me for another Coffee and Crime Time. The first coffee and crime time that we've had in a while since current events had become depressing. I realized I needed a little break. So as you can tell, I've been focusing on, some older cases for the past month or so, but this case has brought me out of my coffee and crime time hiatus and compelled me to make a video about it to raise awareness in the US and other countries for the case of this little boy. Dylan Esau Gomez Perez. He was abducted from a public market in San Cristobal de las Casas, which is in Chiapas, Mexico. This happened on June 30th, but it just came to my attention, and it seems that Dylan's story didn't get a whole lot of airtime, of press time in the mainstream media, at least not in the US, because the majority of the news stories I found on him were in Spanish. I felt it was really important to do my best to try and piece together what happened so that I can bring the details to you, and maybe someone out there knows something or saw something and can contribute information that will help bring Dylan home to his mother safely. Before we get started, I would like to have a word from our sponsor, and our sponsor for this video is Raycon. I've talked about Raycon in a video before. Well, actually, my son Aiden did most of the talking because he was the one using them the most, and I barely had a chance to try them out. But since then, I have been wearing my Raycon Everyday E25 earbuds every single day. Hey, maybe that's why they're called the Everyday E25. Raycon's earbuds start at about half the price of any other premium wireless earbuds on the market, and me and Aiden aren't the only ones who love our Raycons. Celebrities like Snoop Dogg, Brandy, and Mike Tyson are obsessed with Raycons because they sound just as amazing as other top audio brands, and they're comfortable and discreet enough to wear all day long, to listen to your true crime podcasts and your YouTube videos, and not annoy or traumatize everyone in your vicinity who might judge you for the kind of stuff you like to watch and listen to. The Everyday E25 earbuds are the best model yet, with 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a nice noise-isolating fit. They also come in new fun colors, and the compact carrying case can charge the earbuds 4 times on one single charge, and I can attest to this personally because we moved. I couldn't find the charger that goes with it. I just had my phone charger, and I was really stressed out that they were going to die and I wasn't going to have them as we were moving. But these things have lasted now. It's been 3.5 weeks just on the one charge of the case. And honestly, they still have a charge to them. So it's very, very long lasting. Raycon is built around the mission that everyone deserves to enjoy great audio. Ray J founded the company because he was tired of premium audio being so expensive. So he got together with a group of audio engineers and music industry experts to develop Raycon's line of awesome wireless headphones and earbuds that are perfect for working from home, hopping on video calls, and just disappearing into your own little world for a little bit if that's what you want to do. Since the earbuds have a few different fit options to choose from, so when you have them in, you can literally not hear anything else going on around you, which is really necessary sometimes, in my opinion. So if you're interested in checking out Raycon, go to buyraycon.com/stephanieharlowe to get 15% off your first order. You can also click the link in the description box below. Thank you so much for letting me chat with you a bit, and thanks to Raycon for sponsoring this video and being a great help to this channel. Once again, it's buyraycon.com/stephanieharlowe, stephanieharlowe to get 15% off your first order. So I'm going to get the elephant out of the room before I continue on to this video. I am wearing my pajamas. Yes, these are my pajamas. I showered this morning and then I put pajamas on because I knew I was going to be home all day. I have to record this video, I have to edit it, and then I'm back into research mode for the rest of the day. So, I mean, honestly, what's the point in getting dressed? So I'm going to leave that there. You guys can pick it up if you want. You guys can ignore it if you want, but I know I was going to get comments about it. So yes, these are my pajamas. I'm wearing my pajamas in the middle of the day, and I'm proud of it. So Dylan is 2 years old. He's turning 3 in November. On June 30th, it appears his mother, Juana, brought him to the market with her, where she worked, selling fruits and vegetables. Now, Dylan's father had recently traveled to California in search of work, leaving Dylan's mother alone to care for him and his sister, and she still obviously has to work to earn a living. So Dylan and his sister would sometimes go to work with her, and it had never been an issue before. In fact, he'd often wandered off to play while she was working, but he always came back, and as far as his mother knew, no children had been abducted or disappeared from that market before. Surveillance video released showed it was not an adult who had lured Dylan away from the market, but 2 other children, a boy and a girl who both appear to be about 12 years old. The video shows Dylan following the boy away to where the girl was waiting. Now, this girl then grabbed his coat, like the back of his coat, and led him out of the market, returning later alone after it's believed she delivered Dylan to someone else. Now, both these children were previously seen talking to a woman who police now consider a suspect in Dylan's abduction. This woman has only been identified as Ophelia. I wasn't sure if this was her actual name or just a nickname given to her by law enforcement, so I looked it up and I found out that Ophelia is the Spanish version of the name Ophelia, which is a girl's name of Greek origin meaning help or to aid. So at first it made me feel like it's a nickname or a moniker that was sort of assigned to this woman. And I'll explain why I feel this way in a moment when we talk about where this investigation found itself. Let's talk about the area that Dylan was abducted from for a moment. San Cristobal is a town and a municipality located in the Central Highlands region of the Mexican state of Chiapas. It's mostly made up of mountains, but the city sits in a small valley surrounded by hills. Very picturesque, very beautiful, with Spanish colonial architecture, red tiled roofs, cobblestone streets, very old world European look. It's like being transported back to simpler times. The milk still gets delivered in canisters by donkeys. There's wrought iron balconies, and the facades of many buildings are painted in pleasing pastel colors. It just seems like a very charming, warm, lovely sort of place where people could and should feel safe. The city subdivides into 3 sections, with the majority of the population living in the city center, and there's a traditional Mexican market located north of the Santo Tomas Church, and it's open every day besides Tuesday. Now, I believe this is the market where Dylan disappeared from. I want to talk about the importance of commerce, services, and tourism to this area because it is relevant. San Cristobal has the second lowest rate of economic marginalization in the state, with only 4.5% of workers not receiving a regular salary or income. The most important sector by economic output is mining, with about 600 truckloads of jade, gravel, stone, and metals leaving the city every day heading for other areas. The city has become a popular tourist area since it's considered the cultural capital of the state due to its preserved colonial architecture and its large indigenous population. And Dylan himself actually spoke the indigenous language of Tzotzil. Now, an aspect of traditional culture associated with these indigenous groups is the making of textiles using amber, ceramics, wrought iron, and filigree. And it's very common to see both adults and children in the streets selling, little trinkets and souvenirs and things made from their natural resources. Tourism brings a good deal of money into San Cristobal, and as a result, there's over 80 hotels and a plethora of guided tours to choose from. The Palenque ruins are a big attraction, which I would personally love to visit myself since I'm a big fan of ancient Mayan culture and always make a point to travel to some ruins or another whenever we're in Mexico. Now, the ruins themselves are breathtaking. Located in the Tumbala Mountains overlooking the jungle below, it's one of the most studied and documented Mayan archaeological ruins, and it's believed to have been populated from 226 BC to around 799 AD. Now, here's why I spent a little time painting a picture of this area for you, besides the fact that I think it's cool in general and could honestly talk about this stuff for hours if I thought you would listen. While investigators were searching for Dylan, they stumbled onto something else incredibly disturbing. They found a house in San Cristobal where 23 abducted children were being kept in what they called awful and abusive conditions. These children were mostly between the ages of 2 and 15, but 3 of them were even younger than that. A translated article I read lists these children's ages as 3 months, 12 months, and 20 months old. Apparently, these children had been kidnapped and were being forced to sell things on the street. State prosecutor George Lavin said that they were forced to return to the house every day with a certain amount of money for the right to be given food and a place to sleep, and this place to sleep would usually be sheets of cardboard and blankets on a cement floor. Now, these children allegedly were being physically and psychologically hurt in order to force them to go along with this. All 23 have at this point been recovered in a malnourished state, and I can't even imagine what kind of mental damage would have been done to them. Now, 3 women have been detained in this case, and they've been identified only as Maribel, Maria, and Juana, but unfortunately, Dylan was not among the children found. The rescued minors were cared for by specialized personnel and later transferred to the Office of the Attorney for Protection of Girls, Boys, and Adolescents. The Attorney General announced that the investigation will continue to find out who's responsible for what happened to these children. It does not appear at this time that the elusive Ophelia or the 2 children who helped her take Dylan were at this house. If they were, that information has not been released yet. The reason this case is important, besides hoping to get the word out about Dylan and to find him, is because this is not an isolated incident that we can look at, breathe a sigh of relief, and say, thankfully, this didn't happen in my town, or my city, or my country. It's very likely that Dylan might be at some other house, just like this, in a different location. It's also very clear that these people who are abducting children from their families to force them into slave labor are using other children to help them do so. And this is not really a new development, but it is an important one to remember, especially if you're a parent. Sometimes kidnappers use other children as bait, and they do this because you most likely have warned your kids to be wary of strangers, to not talk to strangers, not go with strangers, but you've never told them to be careful of other children. We don't look at other children and think that's a stranger. We think adults are strangers that we don't want around our kids, but we don't think other children that we don't know are strangers. We think that's a potential new friend for our child. Now, Dylan's mother, 23-year-old Juana Perez, traveled from her hometown to Mexico City on Tuesday, July 21st, after almost a month of not knowing where her son was, with a banner showing Dylan's face to ask for the support of President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, who has previously spoken out on this issue, saying that he couldn't release the details, but there has been progress in the investigation. An Amber Alert was activated in Mexico as well as in the neighboring country of Guatemala, where the authorities of that country believe Dylan may have been brought. Now, according to the National Registry of Missing Persons, from the year 1960 until December 31st, 2019, there have been just over 11,000 children reported missing from Mexico who remain missing to this day, and 110 of them are from Chiapas. The Amber Alert for Dylan described him as being about 1 foot 11 inches tall, weighing 33 pounds, with straight black hair and dark eyes. He is adorable, so cute. You just want to pinch his little cheeks. I'm so worried about him. He's just one of these kids that they just look happy. They love playing. They love getting into trouble. They love kind of rustling around. He just is an adorable child. And he was described that day as playing with a spray bottle in the market when he suddenly disappeared around 4 p.m. When his mother noticed he was gone, she asked for the security footage to be reviewed, which is when they noticed the girl take him. I found in another article that I had to translate that both Dylan and his 5-year-old sister were at the market with their mother that day when she asked them both to go over to their grandmother's stall. But Dylan never made it there. Instead, he was lured away by this young girl and boy who led him outside to where this woman, Ophelia, was waiting. Their path was recorded by security cameras of the businesses that they passed. According to this article, one of the women detained after the 23 children were rescued is a sister of Ophelia. So the Attorney General's office does believe the 2 cases may be connected, and a reward of 300,000 pesos or $13,000 is being offered to locate her or for any information that can be provided on Dylan's whereabouts. The disappearance of children in Chiapas is a growing problem, and in Mexico, an average of 7 children disappear a day. Since January to July of this year, 1,970 minors have vanished and only 532 of them have been located. Both the Inter-American Commissions on Human Rights and UNICEF have recently commented that they've observed with concern the cases of boys, girls, and adolescents going missing in the country and have called on Mexico to comply with its obligation to investigate these disappearances with due diligence. Despite this attention, the problem does not seem to have been addressed. Juan Martin Perez Garcia co-founded an organization in 1994 dedicated to helping at-risk youths in Mexico, and he feels that in the cases of certain networks exploiting people, especially minors, there's not enough attention or action. He said, quote, "The big problem we have in Mexico with trafficking is that sentences are not obtained. Generally, the authorities prioritize the spectacle and not the solidity of the investigation," end quote. In recent years, these networks have spread to places where the problem has not yet even been detected, such as Sinaloa and Durango. Those 23 children that were recovered recently, it wasn't the first incident of minors in the region who were victims of labor trafficking. In February of 2019, 14 children were rescued in the state capital of Aguascalientes, where they were being forced to work, and they were all from Los Altos. The 23 children rescued in July seem to also have been from the Los Altos region. The common denominator in most of these cases is the socioeconomic status of these children, with 80% of them living in poverty and marginalized conditions. Additionally, many of them are indigenous, a group that has been historically abandoned and unprotected by the government. It now seems that more of these predatory groups are taking advantage of these conditions. So I have a little more information about this house that was raided and the people who were living there and involved. And hopefully I get this right, because like I said, most of these articles I needed to use to get information were translated from Spanish to English. And something does get lost in translation sometimes, but it looks like the original arrests were made on July 15th, 2 weeks after Dylan went missing. And it appears that these two people who were arrested that day were a married couple named Adolfo Gomez and Josefa Sanchez. 2 days later, on the 17th, the house was searched and the 3 women were arrested. 2 of these women were the daughters of Adolfo, who was arrested 3 days prior, and one was his daughter-in-law. And like I said, Ophelia is reported to be a sister to one of these women, and she's also said to have traded amber in the area. It also looks like all 23 of these children may have been related to these people who have been arrested, so it gets a little confusing. The waters get muddied here. Adolfo Gomez, who was arrested on July 15th, ended up hanging himself in his cell, and it was reported that he was the grandfather to 22 of those children. He and his daughters and daughter-in-law, who were arrested, are all indigenous as well, and claim that they were not exploiting the children, but just trying to make some money so they could afford to live. And this is something they've been doing for generations. They also do not believe their father took his own life, claiming after his funeral that his body showed signs of being beaten and tortured. And then there's this other guy named Robert Monteo, who's the grandfather of 12 of the children. And he said, quote, "It is a pure false accusation. We are victims of this. That is what is happening," end quote. He was able to pick up the 12 children who were his grandchildren, and they are back in his custody. Robert is the father of Juana, who is Adolfo Gomez's daughter-in-law. He also claims on the day of the arrest, the women had stayed home with the children, who are actually their children and not kidnapped children after all, when the authorities came and took them. At this time, it appears they're trying to figure out what is true. Is this a family of kidnappers or a poor family just trying to make ends meet who found themselves at the center of controversy? Jennifer Haza, director of a Chiapas organization for childcare, claims it's not uncommon for these families to be criminalized and singled out for having their children working in the streets instead of in school. 85% of children in the state come from poor households, and this figure could have increased to 93% due to COVID, since a big chunk of the area's revenue comes from tourism, which has completely come to a halt since the pandemic. There's also no public policies in place to prevent these children from being forced to work on the streets with their families instead of going to school. At this time, the woman who has been identified as Ophelia claims she has nothing to do with Dylan's disappearance, and Dylan's mother has no relationship or affiliation with the family who was arrested. She doesn't even know them, but her message to whoever has her son was simple. She just wants him back. She promises that if he's returned to her, she'll leave it at that. She won't hold a grudge or try to have them arrested. She just wants her child home, safe with her again. So what do you think about all this? Is this a case of children being taken and kidnapped and forced to work and live in horrible conditions? Or is it just, sadly, a matter of a family who was financially struggling, who was hit harder when the pandemic came around, and they were doing whatever it took to stay afloat and put food on the table? Are these people involved with Dylan's disappearance? Is that woman Ophelia related to the women arrested on July 17th, as it has been reported? or is she a completely separate entity? As always, let me know what you think in the comments. And if I have any Spanish-speaking subscribers here and watchers, which I know I do, I know there's plenty of you out there, and you have some time in the next couple of days, pull up the case, look at it, see if there's anything I missed. I'm really interested in this family, and I want to determine whether they are just, an innocent family that kind of got thrown in the crosshairs, or if there's something more nefarious going on. Because it looks to me, any U.S. reporting that's been done is pretty much just reporting it as Dylan went missing, and then the police stumbled upon this house where there was 23 kidnapped children living there. They keep saying these children have been kidnapped. These children were abducted from their parents, from their homes, and forced to live in this house and sleep on the floor and, work during the day selling things on the street. And then if they don't bring back enough money, they're not allowed to, have a place to sleep or have food. But the family's saying, no, that's not true. All of these kids are our children. We're the grandfather of these children. We're the mothers of these children. So I would like a little bit more information, and there's so much out there. And there's even articles that I wasn't able to translate into English. My dad speaks Spanish. I guess I could have asked him to read them for me, but he probably only would have read one or two articles, and then he would have been like, okay, I'm done with this. So it would have been unhelpful. But let me know what you guys think about this. Please look in the description box. There's going to be some links and resources to kind of find out more about Dylan's case. There's also going to be numbers you can call if you know anything about where he might be, because that's really, I guess, the end result here is I want to get more out there about him. He's been missing now since June. It's currently the middle of August. He's so little. This is ridiculous. We should know what happened to him by now. His mother shouldn't have to be suffering like this every single day. It's just horrible. It's torture. And I really want, hopefully, some more information to come out, and maybe somebody knows something. Somebody always knows something. Okay, thank you guys so much for being here and joining me for this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Also, make sure you like the video if you liked it. Make sure you share the video if you think it's worth sharing. I really hope that you do, because the more people that see this, the better. And as always, if you're already subscribed, thank you so much, but make sure you still are subscribed, because YouTube loves to unsubscribe people from my channel and not send out notifications when I post videos. And if you're not subscribed and you like the video and you've been watching for a while, just hit the subscribe button so you can hopefully be notified every time I post a video. Thank you so much to Raycon for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to check them out in the description box. They make a great gift for yourself, for your child, for your husband, for really anybody. Thank you so much to you guys for watching these videos every time I post, and thank you so much to my patrons who keep me afloat and they keep me going. I do want to give a couple shout outs before I go. First of all, one is to my friend Cambo of True Crime Island. He has an amazing true crime podcast. He's got a great Australian accent. I love this guy. He is so smart, so cool, such a good friend, and he also has a YouTube channel, so you guys should check out his podcast, True Crime Island, on, wherever you get your podcasts, and also on YouTube, and subscribe to him so you can be notified when he posts a new video. Great stuff. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to a couple of my subscribers, Ryan and Nick, or the Lion and the Fox, because that's their nicknames for each other. The Lion and the Fox have a special day coming up right around the corner. They're about to celebrate their 2-year anniversary. I am such a fan of love and romance, and I think these grand gestures and things like that are just incredibly sweet. And Nick actually reached out to me and asked me to do this for Ryan. So Ryan, you get yourself a great guy. Get yourself somebody who's incredibly loyal and loves you a lot. And I think it's so sweet. I'm just such a sucker for romance. And, I just watched this movie on Netflix yesterday. I forget. I think it was called The Lost Husband or something. And it looked like very Lifetime movie-ish. And I was right. But I kind of liked it anyways because it made me feel good. Whatever. Love makes me feel good. So to Ryan and Nick, this video might end, but your love never will. Thank you guys so much for being here. Stay kind, stay beautiful, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.
Battle's going straight down, and that river runs deep, the mountains get steep, and the voices getting too loud. All these feelings I've buried, it's looking like a cemetery. They're coming back from the grave, calling out my name, better say a Hail Mary. Well, you don't know how deep it goes until it's getting you slowly. So you got to let it go. I got blood